Hello, and welcome to Miss Hope's Reading Hour. So good to see you all this evening on this marvelous Monday, on our fifth day of the 12 days of donations, my friends. So glad to see you all. Hope that you had a good weekend. My weekend was okay. I didn't do a whole lot. I just kind of chilled. Hopefully, you had a chance to chill, and hopefully, my young ones and my older young ones, you had a chance to still donate to our last group that we were donating to, which was Feeding America. Remember, on our 12 days of donations, what Miss Hope's Reading Hour wants to do is during this time, well, a lot of the time throughout the year, but if it's not happening to you, you're usually not thinking about it. There are people, children and families and seniors and people all over this country, all over this world who are dealing with and food insecurity. And especially during the pandemic, a lot of people are out of work. And for the first time ever, they are dealing with the threat of hunger and food insecurity. So during Miss Hope's Reading Hour, for the next 12 broadcasts, we're now on number 5. What we are seeking to do is to highlight some organizations who are helping to make sure that our brothers and sisters here in the United States and all over the world do not have to deal with food insecurity and hunger. And today, organization number 5 is, I got it right this time. I got the finger right, got the hand right. It is called Share Our Strength. Now, you may not know who Share Our Strength is, but especially my young ones, because sometimes they talk about this organization in schools. You have heard of No Kid Hungry. So, Share Our Strength is the parent organization of No Kid Hungry. And we want to make it that it is no longer normal for people anywhere to have to deal with hunger or food insecurity. So, Miss Hope's Reading Hour wants to donate to these organizations, and we want you to donate to these organizations. So, before I get too far ahead of myself, I have to give my disclaimer, friends. This wonderful music that you hear and the books that we are going to read today, unfortunately, Miss Hope does not own the rights to any of them. So I have to let you know that first because it's only right. I didn't write the books. Wish I had. Maybe I might write a book. Who knows? And the music, I'm not so good with the instrumental stuff. I can sing, I can use this instrument, not necessarily this instrument. Okay. So just had to give you that disclaimer. Well, I want to tell you a little bit about Share Our Strength. I've heard of Share Our Strength, but I didn't realize it was connected with No Kid Hungry. So Share Our Strength does way more than just No Kid Hungry. So let me read you a little bit about Share Our Strength. So, Share Our Strength's mission is to end hunger and poverty in the U.S. and abroad, not just here, but everywhere else. So, it says, how do we do that? Through our campaigns like No Kid Hungry, which will end childhood hunger in the United States, and Cooking Matters, which helps low-income families learn to shop and cook healthier. It's a big job, but we're not alone. We believe that everyone has strength to share to help ensure every individual can live a healthy and productive life. So, through their No Kid Hungry program, more than 1 billion with a B meals have been provided to kids since the No Kid Hungry campaign began. 1 billion with a B. All right, their Cooking Matters program, 464,000 families have learned to shop and cook healthier through Cooking Matters tours and courses. They also have the Community Wealth Partners, where 500 plus organizations are achieving their missions through the insights of Community Wealth Partners. They also deal with disaster relief, meaning like if there is an earthquake, a hurricane, or some other natural disaster, even during wartime. So $550,000 last year went to help local groups feed families in emergencies. Fire. That is an emergency. That is a disaster for a family. So that much went last year, $550,000 last year to help local groups feed families in emergencies. And also, they offer international grants. And wow, $14 million in grants were given to support those working for kids and families overseas. Share Our Strength is doing a lot. So, because they are doing so much, we need to work together, come together. You know, one person by themselves, of course, a lot of times it always starts with one or two people, right? So, in 1984, it seems like a lot of these organizations started in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. In 1984, Billy and Debbie Stone founded Share Our Strength as a response to the famine in Ethiopia. So it started as something to help people over in Ethiopia and Africa. Then they started helping people here at home, and they're like, we don't just have to do it over there. We don't just have to do it here. We can help deal with hunger and food insecurity everywhere. So I encourage you, my friends, to, especially during this time when a lot of people are dirty and food banks are stretched, organizations who help families and children dealing with hunger and food insecurity are stretched to the limit, trying to fill their shelves and make sure that there is healthy, good food for everyone to partake of. We need to share our strength. And sometimes that means sharing our dollars too, okay? Not just doing, but also giving of your time, giving of your talents, giving of your dollars, okay? So we are encouraging you to donate to Share Our Strength, which helps all of their initiatives, which seems like they are doing a lot. How can you donate? I am so glad that you asked. You can go to their website. It is right down here in the ticker. It says donate to Share Our Strength / No Kid Hungry. So you can be like, oh, okay, I recognize them. You go to shareourstrength.org/donate. Okay. So remember, every little bit helps. Sometimes on these sites, you will see, oh, you can donate $100 or $500 or $1,000 or $10,000. But that is for people who can do that. If the only thing you can donate is $5, guess what? Each one of those dollars will help to feed a family dealing with food insecurity and hunger. Now, my friends, let us get to the books. So, today I was like, well, what am I going to read about? If you notice, if you can hear the music, it's a little Christmassy. I was like, what kind of ambiance are we going to have today? And I was like, why not some Christmassy music? Because in our next books, I want to get some books about different ways that people celebrate this holiday in December and the beginning of the year. You'll be seeing some of those. So I'm going to be honest with you, friends. I've gotten a little addicted to buying books. Whether I get donations or not, I've been a little addicted to buying books. Oh, and I'm so glad I mentioned that. Miss Hope's Reading Hour would like to thank Miss Pam Evans for your donation to Miss Hope's Reading Hour. I looked at my phone and I was like, oh, thank you so much, Miss Pam. She is so wonderful and does so much for the community here in Philadelphia. And I wanted to thank her on Miss Hope's Reading Hour for her donation to us getting more books for our library. Okay, so let's get into the books, shall we? Now, my friends, you have seen this here book before. We have read from this book. And actually, I will be reading the last story for us to read in this book. It's not the last one, but we've read all of them. And during this time of year, what are a lot of kids thinking about? They're thinking about being off school, yes. They are thinking about the holidays, yes. But what are they thinking about getting during the holidays? Oh, yes, they were thinking about toys. Okay, we all know it. Tell the truth. They are all thinking about toys, okay? They are thinking about toys, being off of school and toys, okay? So we are going to read a story today out of our treasury of Curious George. The story is called... George. Curious George Visits a Toy Store. So we are going to read that story today out of the Curious George Treasury. Oh, wait a minute. There is one more. Oh, I know exactly. So this is the second to the last story. I know when I'm going to read the last one. Hopefully, the day that I want to read this story comes on a day that there's Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Because if it does, I'm reading this story. I'm going to put the date next to it. I'm going to do it. All right. And our next book is called Jamaica's Find. Look down there. It is a Reading Rainbow selection. Jamaica's Find. This book is by Juanita Havel. Illustrations by Anne Sibley O'Brien. Yes, Jamaica's Find. And the Curious George Treasury. They are all written and illustrated by Margaret and H.A. Ray. And this is a Houghton Mifflin Harcourt book. All right. So, and of course, because it got juicy last week, y'all, more stuff is happening than just who is stealing 12 Days of Christmas. So we have to find out. I'm going to hold it. Because once Miss Hope gets into a mystery, right? I have to keep watching the clock because I will go over time because I will be so engrossed and wanting to know what happened at the end. So I got to calm myself down because I'm already excited because it got real juicy at the end. Okay. So Curious George visits a toy store. As always, this is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today was the opening of a brand new toy store. George and the man with the yellow hat did not want to be late. You can't be late for the opening of the new toy store, friends. They did not want to be late. When they arrived, the line to go inside wound all the way around the corner. When a line is this long, it is not easy for a little monkey to be patient. George sneaked through the crowd. All he wanted was a peek inside. George got to the door just as the owner opened it. "This is no place for a monkey," she said. But George was so excited, he was already inside. Balls, dolls, bicycles, and games filled the shelves. There were so many toys. George didn't even know how some of them worked. And how about these hoops? What did they do? George was curious. He climbed up to pull one out of the pile. It would not move. George pulled harder. Still, it wouldn't move. George pulled, with all fours. Suddenly, there was a terrible red, blue, green, and yellow hoops bounced up and down and everywhere. "Look!" exclaimed a boy, bouncing up and down himself. "Why haven't I seen one of these in years?" "Oh, why? I haven't seen one of these in years," said the boy's grandmother. See, the toy store isn't just for kids. It makes everybody happy once you go to the toy store. She put a hoop around her waist and gave it a spin. George tried to hula hoop too. Then George pretended to be a wheel. He rolled and rolled and... what's going to happen with him rolling? Let's see. Oops! He rolled right into the owner. The owner shook her head. "I knew you were trouble," she said. "Now you've made a mess of my new store." Again, she tried to stop George. And again, he was too quick. In only a second, he was around the corner and on the highest shelf. Below him, George saw a little girl point to a toy out of reach. "Mommy, can we get that dinosaur?" she asked. George picked up the dinosaur and lowered it to the girl. She was delighted. So was the small boy next to her. "Could you get that ball for me, please?" he asked George. George reached up, grabbed the ball, bounced it to the boy. He's being right helpful. Maybe it is place for a monkey. "May I have that puppet way over there?" asked another girl. How lucky that George was a monkey. He swung off the shelf, hung on a light, picked up the puppet, and put it right into her hands. Good thing he was there. "What a show!" shouted a boy. The children held up their new toys and cheered. What a commotion! Immediately, the owner came running, and then came the man with the yellow hat. I think we've had enough monkey business for one day. The owner frowned. Just then, a girl got in the long line to pay. What a great store, she said. What a great idea to have a little monkey help you, her father told the owner. I guess you're right, the owner replied and smiled. Then she gave George a special surprise. Thank you, George, she said. My grand opening is a success because of you. Perhaps monkey business is the best business after all. The end. You see, you didn't think it would be a good idea to have the monkey at your store. And our monkey friend was right. Okay. He was a little messy at first. We can admit that. But in the end, he was very helpful, and all of the children and people in the store were happy. So you can't always say what won't be helpful. That makes me think of our 12 days of donations, our donation number 5 today, which is Share Our Strength, which is right up here. Logo right up here with the little O with the people faces in it. So, did you think that maybe a little gift, a little donation will not be enough? I can guarantee you it will, because all of these organizations know how to stretch a dollar to be able to help many people. So I encourage you here on Miss Hope's Reading Hour to donate to Share Our Strength, which is the parent organization, not company, of No Kid Hungry, which helps to make sure that there are no kids across this country who are dealing with hunger and food insecurity. And their other programs are here to help children and families, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. So please do donate to Share Our Strength at shareourstrength.org/donate. Okay, now let's get to our next book. Jamaica's Find, a Reading Rainbow selection. Oh, it says 20th anniversary edition by Juanita Havel. Illustrations by Anne Sibley O'Brien. Let's see when this was first written. Let me see. It says 20th anniversary edition. Ooh. See, that's the thing with new books. Pages sometimes get stuck. When was this published? In 1986. How old was I? I think I was 5 or 6 years old when this was written. How about that? But you know, Miss Hope always says, all books are great. Old books can still be good. I've said that plenty of times. Jamaica's Find. When Jamaica arrived at the park, there was no one there. It was almost supper time, but she still had a few minutes to play. Now, we can't give up on that few minutes to play now. We can't do that. She sat in a swing, pushed off with her toes, and began pumping. It was fun not to have to watch out for the little ones who always ran in front of the swing. I would say, honestly, that my favorite thing to do at the playground was always the swing. I love the swing so much. And just between us, Miss Hope still loves swings. If I go to the playground with my kids at school or the after school program, I got to get a swing before I go. Let's continue with the story. Then she climbed up the slide. There was a red sock hat on the ladder step. Jamaica took it for a ride. She slid down so fast she fell in the sand and lay flat on her back. When she rolled over to get up, she saw a stuffed dog beside her. It was a cuddly gray dog, worn from hugging. All over it were faded food and grass stains. Its button nose must have fallen off. There was a round white spot in its place. 2 black ears hung from its head. Isn't that a cute little puppy? It's cute. Jamaica put the dog in her bicycle basket. Hey, found a new stuffed animal. Just to let you know, Miss Hope also likes the stuffed animals. She took the hat into the park house and gave it to the young man at the counter. Sorry. Somebody lost their hat, so why not help them out? The first thing her mother said when Jamaica came in the door was, "Where did that dog come from?" "The park. I stopped to play on the way home," Jamaica said. "I found someone's red hat and took it to the lost and found." "But Jamaica, you should have returned the dog too," said her mother. Then she said, "I'm glad you returned the hat." "It didn't fit me," Jamaica said. "Maybe the dog doesn't fit you either," her mother said. "I like the dog," said Jamaica. "Don't put that silly dog on the table," Jamaica's brother said. "You don't know where it came from. It isn't very clean, you know," her father said. "Not in the kitchen, Jamaica," her mother said. Jamaica took the dog to her room. She could hear her mother say, "It probably belongs to a girl like Jamaica." After dessert, Jamaica went to her room very quietly. She held the dog up and looked at it closely. Then she tossed it on the chair. I wonder why. "Jamaica," her mother called from the kitchen. "Have you forgotten? It's your turn to dry the dishes." "Do I have to, Mother? I don't feel good," Jamaica answered. Jamaica heard the pots rattle. Then she heard her mother's steps. Her mother came in quietly, sat down by Jamaica, and looked at the stuffed dog, which lay alone on the chair. She didn't say anything. After a while, she put her arms around Jamaica and squeezed for a long time. "Mother, I want to take the dog back to the park," Jamaica said. "We'll go first thing in the morning." Her mother smiled. Jamaica ran to the park house and plopped the stuffed dog on the counter. I found this by the slide, she told the young man. Oh, hi. Aren't you the girl who gave me the hat last night? Yes, said Jamaica, feeling hot around her ears. You sure do find a lot of things. I'll put it on the lost and found shelf. Jamaica stood watching him. Is that all? He asked. You didn't find anything else, did you? No, that's all. She stayed to watch him put the dog on the shelf behind him. I'm sure some little girl or boy will come in after it today. A nice little dog like that, the young man said. Jamaica ran outside. She didn't feel like playing alone. There was no one else at the park but her mother, who sat on a bench. Then Jamaica saw a girl and her mother cross the street to the park. Hi, I'm Jamaica. What's your name? She said to the girl. The girl let go of her mother's hand. Kristen, she said. Do you want to climb the jungle gym with me, Kristen? Jamaica said. Kristen ran toward Jamaica. Yes, but I have to find something first. What? Asked Jamaica. Kristen was bending under the slide. What did you lose? Said Jamaica. Edgar Dog. I brought him with me yesterday, and now I can't find him, Kristen answered. Was he kind of gray with black ears? Jamaica couldn't keep from shouting, Come along with me. The young man in the park house looked over the counter at the two girls. Now what have you found? He asked Jamaica. But this time, Jamaica didn't drop anything onto the counter. Instead, she smiled her biggest smile. I found the girl who belongs to that stuffed dog. Jamaica was almost as happy as Kristen, who took Edgar Dog in her arms and gave him a big welcome back hug. The end. Look at those two. They look mighty happy. Kristen happy to have her dog back, and Jamaica happy that she was able to make that happen. So I wanted to read this author's note. Over the years, hundreds of young readers have written to me about Jamaica. They suggest situations for a future story. What if Jamaica goes on a trip? What if Jamaica and her friends have a party? They offer alternate solutions. What if Jamaica runs away so she can keep the stuffed dog she finds at the park? Sometimes they ask, what if Jamaica grows up? It's true that Jamaica has been 6 years old for 20 years. I don't plan to write about a grown-up Jamaica, but if I ever do, I am certain she will be curious, intelligent, kind, and honest. She will face challenges and have to make choices. And like 6-year-old Jamaica, she will learn from her experience. I hope that readers, young and old, will continue to see themselves in Jamaica and her everyday adventures. Oh, what a lovely note. That was such a great note from the author. I like this story. It was so tempting to keep that lovely little dog until she heard her mom say, a girl just like Jamaica is probably missing that dog. And that makes me think of our organization. You know, when you sit down at the dinner table or when you're hungry and you're like, oh, I'm so hungry. I can't wait to get home to eat something. I'm so hungry. There could be a little boy or a little girl or a family here in the United States or somewhere around the world who is hungry the same way. But unlike you, they don't have the healthy food in their home to eat, or they're hungry and worrying about how much of the food to eat that they do have. They might have very little and be thinking about, do we eat this today? Do we not eat this today? Do I buy medicine instead of food? Or do the kids get to eat while the parents don't eat at all to make sure that they can eat and be nourished and healthy? Well, I personally do not want any family to have to deal with that. And I don't think that you do either. So during our 12 days of donations, find it in your heart if you can. If you can't, no shame. We understand. But if you can, offer just a little bit to these organizations like Share Our Strength. It would be greatly appreciated. And you may not ever see those people that your dollars help, but know that it's helping. So you can donate to Share Our Strength at shareourstrength.org/donate. If you would like, you can go back to last Friday and watch the other broadcast of Miss Hope's Reading Hour and see the other organizations that were posted so that you can donate to them too. Okay. So, with all of that being said, my friends, you know what we got to get to. You know what we have to get to. We have to get to what is going on and who is stealing the 12 days of Christmas. So, the last chapter we were in, okay, come to find out, there was not just more decorations going missing, also the Mega Menagerie toy store, Emporium, it sounds like, has been burglarized. And all of the mice, these toys that the kids love to have, these mega mice, have been stolen as well. Now remember, Alex's mom is the police detective in College Springs, Pennsylvania. Now, he made a suggestion to his mother. What if there was no robbery? What if someone staged it to get the insurance money? So we have two burglaries going on at the same time that his mother has to investigate. This is where we are right now, friends. Let us start reading. We are in chapter 7 of Who is Stealing the 12 Days of Christmas? And apparently not just stealing that. Okay? Effling, I said. What about the birds, though? Any luck with that? Not my problem, thank goodness, Mom said. Mega Menagerie's a lot bigger deal. So I handed the birds off to Fred Crickles. Interesting last name. But he's not a detective, I said. You're the detective. Fred's a fine patrol officer and perfectly capable of looking into a kid prank. When mom said kid, I laser stared her. I laser stared her the way she laser stares me when she's mad. But it didn't work. She grinned. I'm not dissing kids, she said. Just some kids. The ones who have nothing better to do than snatch birds from Christmas displays. She looked into her coffee mug. Empty. Guess it's time to put on my face and go to work. On Sunday, I said. She shrugged. If the bad guys work, then I do too. Mom stood and stretched. Then she started upstairs to put on her face. That meant lipstick and black eye goop. One time I asked her how come she needed that stuff to be a cop. Isn't it awful girly, I said. I mean, the bad guys won't think you're tough. Mom had laughed. I like to think that I'm girly and tough, she said. Now, Mom called back to me. You have chores to do, don't forget. Like I could forget. Since we don't have house cleaners anymore, I do about a zillion chores. Arguing that I'm too young for slavery has not done any good. I shifted my knees and told Luau his bed was going bye-bye. He dug in his claws and meowed. This meant I don't recall giving my cushion permission to move. I scratched him under his chin and behind his ears. Good kitty, I said. Smart kitty, brave kitty, not to mention brilliant detective kitty. Luau said, which meant, how right you are. Then he jumped onto the floor. I got up and cleared the table. Milk dribbled from the cereal bowl. Luau and I cleaned up, me with my sponge, him with his tongue. The phone rang. I grabbed it. Russell? It's on, he said, at Mega Menagerie. Great, I said. Hey, but what about mice? Mrs. Miggins told my mom she's getting an emergency shipment. When I hung up, I was grinning. This was great and amazing news. I went back to loading the dishwasher. One thing I have discovered about most chores, you don't need your brain to do them. You can think about whatever you want. So I was thinking how it was surprising that Miss Miggins had arranged to get new mice delivered so fast, especially this close to Christmas. And I was thinking something else too, how I really like peppermint ice cream cake. Chapter 8. With his tail wagging and his mouth drooling, Leo G greeted me and Dad at the door to Mega Menagerie. Leo G is the St. Bernard dog named after a dead movie star. You have to be careful of him. He doesn't bite, but his slobber is pretty much magnetized to people. Come too close, and instantly you're coated with foamy dog spit. Ugh. Dad backed away, saying, good dog, but he didn't back far enough. Delighted to see us, Leo G shook his enormous head and slobber flew all over Dad's pants. I laughed till I noticed he had gotten me too. Ugh. Dad and I did our best to wipe off as we walked back to the party room. When we got there, I was surprised how normal it looked. Mice on the shelves, mouse balloons, crepe paper, cake, and the best part, the Mega Menagerie mouse battlefield. Welcome, Miss Miggins said. I know you've been to mouse parties before, Alex. You're familiar with the rules, right? I nodded. During the party, we would be allowed to take mice down for the war, but in the end, we had to put them back, or else parents would, or else our parents could buy them. If somebody damaged one, like he yanked off the tag, Miss Miggins made sure his parents bought it. Dad reached out to shake Miss Miggins' hand, but then he must have remembered the slobber because he pulled his hand back. Sorry, he said. How are you? The store sure looks great. I can't believe you had a robbery so recently. You'd better believe we had a burglary, Miss Miggins answered. And it hasn't been easy either. First, the dreadful shock, then the frantic phone calls trying to find mice, the cleanup. And at this time of year, too, I've worked my fingers to the bone. She flashed her fingers, I guess to show their boniness. But what I noticed were 3 big diamond rings. Selling toys must be a pretty good business. It's funny about Miss Miggins. She owns a toy store, but as far as I can tell, she hates kids. It's like we make her anxious because we might mess up her displays. Dad says, in his opinion, Miss Miggins doesn't like grown-ups so much either. What she does like is St. Bernard's, especially Leo G. He stays at the store overnight, like he's some kind of watchdog or something. But I guess he's good if the store got robbed anyway. I joined Matt Kaiser and Ari and Russell and a couple of other guys, Sam and Luke, at the cake table. I had brought 2 of my mice for the war, along with their trading cards, of course. In case you didn't know, how is life on planet Squelch? The cards look like baseball cards. On the back is information about the mouse, his warrior character and history. I mean, including stats like how many battles won and how many battles lost. Ari and I compared General Douglas McMouse with General Charles George Gordon Mouse. The real General MacArthur was the hero of the Philippines in World War II. General Gordon was the hero of the Battle of Taiping in 1863. I was sure my Gordon Mouse tactical small would crush Ari's McMouse in a fair fight, but Ari said no way. Meanwhile, Billy Jensen showed up with his grandma behind him and Leo G wagging his tail behind her. Leo G is always friendly, but he seemed crazy for Billy's grandma. He had really slimed her good, but she didn't seem to mind. She even gave him a dog biscuit from her pocket. How did he know you had that? Dad asked. No, Grandma said. He didn't know. Couldn't have. Do you have dogs? My dad asked. Grandma nodded. I do. And this guy must sense how much I miss them. My daughter-in-law won't let me bring the dogs when we come. She says they'll make a mess. You were in last week, weren't you? Miss Miggins asked her. Grandma looked surprised. Was I? She said. Well, your hair was different. And I don't remember the glad. Not me, said Grandma. Never been in this store in my life. Russell's mom clapped her hands to get our attention. Then she said, let the war begin. Dad looked at me and mouthed, see you at 3. With the other kids, I dropped to the floor next to the battlefield. Mrs. Miggins made it herself. She is amazing at art. And it is awesome with grass and tiny trees, mountains and deserts, even wild animals. I think the battlefield is the main reason everybody likes having mouse parties at Mega Menagerie so much. I was on Ari and Matt's side with Russell's little brother Graham. Billy Jensen was on the other team. For once, he didn't have his earphones attached. I wondered if his parents realized it was a mouse party when they RSVP'd. If they didn't like mice, they wouldn't like a mouse war. He was probably lucky his grandma had brought him. We were putting our mice in position when Sophie Sikora showed up. A couple of guys groaned. I looked at Russell. He nodded at his. She made me, he whispered. Everybody in town knows about Sophie. She is bad. That's how Mom says it. Dad's opinion is different. A kid might do bad stuff, but that doesn't make the kid bad. We wouldn't put labels on people, Dad says. Oh, I'm sorry. We shouldn't put labels on people, Dad says. I don't know who's right about badness, but Sophie is definitely trouble. She is a year older than me and big. She's not very smart in school, but I hear she always raises her hand because she thinks she knows everything. Usually girls don't care about mice. Yasmin doesn't, but Sophie loves them. She has more than anybody except Matt Kaiser. Come in, Sophie. Russell's mom. Sophie hung back for about half a second, then charged into the party room. She always moves fast, too fast. On the way to the battlefield, she knocked a chair over and popped a balloon. Whose side am I on? She asked. How about the birthday boys? Said Russell's mom. No, said Sophie. I want to be on Matt's side. With all our mice, we'll dominate. How you play Mouse War is first you set up each mouse on the battlefield. Then you roll dice and draw tactics cards and mouse cards to see what each number means for each mouse in each place. Players are allowed to use 2 mice at a time. Like in basketball, you can substitute. That's why having a lot of mice, like Sophie and Matt do, is so good. Right now, Honey Mouse is my favorite. I like his elephant. So I started with him and my own General Gordon mouse. Later, I picked a sitting mouse off the shelf. I was careful not to hurt him because I didn't have enough money to buy him. We were having a great time, and I'm pretty sure my side was winning. We had just overrun the other team's rainforest, and our naval forces were steaming toward their tropical island. Then Sophie had to go and wreck everything. My Field Marshal Monty Mouse is tougher than that old Alexander, she said to Billy. You have to remember that Billy doesn't have mice of his own and probably never played Mouse War before. He was still trying to figure out what was going on. Plus, he's only a kindergartner. Huh? He said. I said, Sophie began. Russell didn't let her finish. Alexander the mouse is too tough, he said. Show her, Billy. Here, roll the dice. I'll help. Dice are slow, said Sophie. And before our team could stop her, she drove Monty Mouse's tank right into Alexander, knocking him off his horse, off the battlefield, and onto the carpet. Russell's team couldn't just let Alexander lie there. He had to lead the counterattack. Luke scooped him up, put him back on the horse, and galloped him through our team's forces, slaughtering mouse allies right and left. Now, everybody was mad. Matt announced he was going home and started grabbing mice with both hands. Graham said Matt stole one of his mice, and sure enough, Matt hid something behind his back. Sophie climbed over the battlefield, trying to get a look behind Matt's back. On the way, she flattened a volcano, slashed a polar. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I missed a page. She flattened a volcano and slashed a polar ice cap. Let me see that, she said. I think it's mine. Most of them are mine. They are not, said Matt. You dumb girl. Ari tried to get in front of Matt to protect him, but Sophie was quick. She grabbed Matt's shoulder and yanked on his arm to see what he was holding. You let go, said Matt. It's mine. And in the tussle, even though I don't think he meant to, he socked her. He hit me. He hit me, Sophie howled. Blood oozed from her nose. By now, Russell's mom might have been feeling just the tiniest amount of sorry she had ever invited Sophie. But she didn't show it. In fact, she did the only thing a mom in her predicament could do. She smiled a big, bright smile and said, "Time for cake." Well, my friends, we are learning more about these mice. We will end there. Certainly, these mega mice are like, I would say, like Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, or I don't know if Naruto has cards, but maybe like that too, possibly. Or yeah, I'm not sure. I'll find out from David, my nephew. But we are at the end of Miss Hope's reading hour. I hope you were listening because something curious happened in chapter 8. I think, no, this chapter 8. Yeah, chapter 8. The owner of the toy store seemed to recognize the grandmother who came in and said, "You've been here before. Maybe your hair is different, but I think you've been here before." And she's like, "Oh, no, I've never been here." Something sounds fishy about that. I caught that. So, my friends, when we're listening to this book, you got to listen for the clues. I don't know. It might be something, but it might be nothing. I don't know. So, the mice have went missing from Mega Menagerie. And hello, Jocelyn. Hi. So glad to see you here. So the mice have gone missing from Mega Menagerie, and we still have missing decorations. Are they connected? Are they two separate robberies? Is it just kids playing pranks with the decorations, or someone really stealing the 12 Days of Christmas? Did the robbery at Mega Menagerie really happen, or is someone just trying to get the insurance money? If there was a robbery, did the grandmother have something to do with it? There are a lot of questions already. Exactly, Jocelyn. Questions, okay? Well, my friends, we are at the end of Miss Hope's reading hour for this marvelous Monday. So glad to be here with you all again. And I look forward to seeing you on our wonderful Wednesday. Please do not forget to donate if you can to Share Our Strength, which is the parent organization of No Kid Hungry. You can donate to them by going to shareourstrength.org/donate. Every little bit helps. Miss Hope's reading hour will be donating, and I encourage you all to donate to help children and families here in the United States and all around the world who are dealing with food insecurity and hunger, so that will no longer be a normal for anyone. Okay? With all of that being said, thank you so much for being here on Miss Hope's reading hour. So glad to be here with you, and I look forward to being with you on our wonderful Wednesday when we will show another organization on our 12 days of donations. With all of that being said, see you next time.